Howdy folks, hope you all had a great weekend. I know I did, and welcome back to another episode, a very quick episode, of Mingles with Jingles. And it's going to be a very quick episode because, well, it's a bank holiday weekend here in the UK, and I've just gotten back from MCM London Comic Con, and I'm absolutely exhausted. But I had a fantastic time, because everybody loves Gandalf. As you're probably aware, I've been going to these events in costume for quite some time now. In fact, going back through my Facebook photo timeline, I can tell you that the very first time I did anything like this was on the 25th of September 2014, when I went to the EGX show at London's Earl's Court, looking like this. Yeah, that was the very first time I ever dressed up as anything for one of these shows. Most people start off with something simple. Something easy, but no, not me. I always have to do everything the hard way. That Stormtrooper outfit was amazing. I mean, I still have it. I've never worn it since because it's an utter nightmare to get into. And it's an utter nightmare to get out of. But, well, the thing about the EGX show, it's the Entertainment Gaming Expo. It's mostly about games. And there's not that many cosplayers there. I mean, there are some, but I was the only Stormtrooper. And so it was a huge hit. And I well and truly caught the cosplay bug. So I'd start looking for other costume ideas that I could do, because I was in absolutely no rush to get into that Stormtrooper outfit again. I mean, I'm glad I did it, but I'm not doing it again. And for some reason, I just kept picking really elaborate and complicated costumes. It was exactly like this when I first started playing Airsoft many, many years ago. I'd get myself an M4 carbine, my very first Airsoft weapon, because it was reasonably cheap, very reliable, and everybody had them. And there's a huge range of accessories. So naturally, I had this perfectly serviceable, lightweight Airsoft carbine, and I immediately started throwing all sorts of rubbish on it. Underbarrel grenade launcher, sound suppressor, scope, laser, flashlight, until eventually this, well, what was supposed to be a lightweight carbine weighed about the same as a small child. And then of course you've got all of the I must look cool tactical equipment hanging off you as well, and this shit ended up getting really heavy. And I couldn't help but notice that one of my friends, who was ex-army, and that should have been a giveaway, just basically wore a webbing belt with an ammunition pouch and a water bottle and a submachine gun. And he was running around the place, barely breaking a sweat. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a leaf out of his book. And all the bits started coming off the weapons, and I started stripping down for speed. And I really started enjoying playing Airsoft a lot more, because I wasn't out of breath all the time. Well, going to these conventions in costumes started to kind of resemble what it was like when I first started playing Airsoft. I mean, I started off with the Stormtrooper. It doesn't get much more complicated than that. And then my very next, or my very first actual Comic-Con, I turned up as Judge Dredd. Now, don't get me wrong, the Dredd costume was, and remains, fantastic. But, holy shit, it's uncomfortable, especially in summer. And it's not that much more comfortable, even when it's reasonably cool, as in October Comic Con in London, because it's basically just a ton of leather rubber with an almost full-face helmet. But it did look awesome, even if most people had absolutely no idea who you were, because... well, probably more people who were going to attend an event like London Comic Con would recognise Judge Dredd. But the 2012 movie with Carl Urban didn't do very well. Not many people actually went to see it. The Sylvester Stallone version is probably best left unmentioned and looked nothing like this anyway. And unless you were, probably in your 40s and you read 2000 AD when you were a kid, you probably wouldn't know who Judge Dredd was in the first place. So the Dredd outfit was nice. I mean, it looked amazing. Most people would just walk past or come rushing up to you saying, wow, I need a picture. They had no idea what I was, but they appreciated an awesome costume, and they just wanted a picture of it. But when people did know what it was, they got really excited. And it started to get quite popular. There were a whole bunch of judges wandering around that we'd bump into each time we went to a convention. But actually wearing the costume is hard work. So I started looking around for alternatives. The first alternative wasn't that much better than the Dredd outfit. Well, it was more comfortable to wear, but it took about as long to get into, and it still had that almost full head helmet, which is just an utter nightmare in the summer. It's not that much better in the winter. So the costumes started getting more and more comfortable to wear. And also, I wasn't getting any younger, and I certainly wasn't getting any thinner, and I couldn't really slip into a Han Solo outfit anymore. Well, I could, but I'd look ridiculous. So, as well as trying to find things that were going to be comfortable to wear, and also reasonably cheap to acquire, instead of trying to make myself look like something that I wasn't, which is the whole point of cosplay, wouldn't it be easier if I was making myself look like something that I kind of looked like anyway? And that's when I came up with the idea of Henry Jones Sr. with Rita as Indy, and incompetent camera minion Eddie as Salah, played by John Rhys Davies in the Indiana Jones movies. The thing was, that was the kind of costume that only really worked if you had Indy with you. And then everybody went, oh, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And yet at the same time, when I was off doing my own thing, I'm sure the majority of people who saw me didn't realise I was in character at all. They just thought I was just some stuffy old English guy wandering around the expo centre. But those people that did recognise the Sean Connery character got really excited. It's as if they were uncommonly pleased with themselves that they'd recognised it, and they just would all come rushing over to get their picture taken and remark, how good they thought I looked, which was fantastic. And this was the costume that I was going to wear this weekend, because it's comfortable to wear. I don't have to get out of costume on the way home, because it's just regular clothes. And the look of delight on people's faces when they see you and realise what you are is fantastic. So that was the plan. Only it never happened, because I'd been putting together a Gandalf costume. Once again, this is one of the main reasons why I've been growing my beard as long as I have. Make yourself into something that you already kind of look like anyway. But I wasn't expecting the last, or the most important piece of the costume, the tunic, to actually arrive in time. But the day before we went down to London to go to the convention, the tunic turned up. And so I thought, okay, change of plan. We're doing this. And oh my god. Seriously, everybody loves Gandalf. All day Friday and all day Saturday. I couldn't walk 10 feet without somebody yelling Gandalf, or you shall not pass, or take the hobbits to Isengard, and come running over and just beg to have their picture taken. It was unbelievably popular. I mean, I've worn, as you've seen from the various different pictures, a whole bunch of different costumes to these events, and when you're wearing a Battlestar Galactica costume, it's mostly just the other people in Battlestar Galactica costumes, with exceptions that, get excited when they see you. When you're wearing a Star Wars costume, it's mostly just the other Star Wars people who get excited to see you. Again, of course, there are exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, that's the way it really seems to be. But when you're dressed as Gandalf, everybody loves you. Children in particular. Children just come running with their parents in tow to get their picture taken. And then the parents tend to give the cameras to the kids so they can get their pictures taken with Gandalf as well. Seriously, Sir Ian McKellen, I loved you before, but I love you even more now because you've made being old and having a white beard incredibly popular. God bless you, sir. This costume, as well as being incredibly lightweight and easy to wear, is just so massively popular. I've never had that kind of experience wearing a costume to a convention before. And this one is a keeper. It really, really is incredible. I had such a good time. And I almost didn't, because of something that happened first thing on the Saturday morning. When we go to London for Comic-Con, it's a 3-day event, but we're usually only there for 2 days, because that means we're going to have to pay for a hotel room for 1 night. London hotel prices are not funny. Anyway, we usually pick the Friday and the Saturday, because if you want to get around the merchandising area, everything that's actually inside the expo centre, do it on the Friday, because on the Saturday and the Sunday, there are going to be 5 times as many people there. So we turned up on Friday, checked into the hotel, got changed into our costumes, and we took our time. We were in no rush to get there early. In fact, we had lunch and a couple of drinks, again in full costume, and it wasn't until about 1 p.m. in the afternoon, after the rush had died down for everybody to get in, that we actually went to collect our ticket and make our way inside. Like I said, in full costume, not a problem. The next day, Saturday, we thought we'll get there a little bit earlier because there's going to be 5 times as many people there, 5 times as many people in costume, and I want to make sure that I get as many pictures as possible of as many of them as I can. So we joined the lines. Now, I don't know how many people were standing in line waiting to get in on Saturday morning. 30, 40, 50,000 people, but there were a lot. And it took over an hour to get to the front of the line. Well, I say the front of the line, but what happens is after you've spent an hour or more in the crowd lining up to get in, when you reach the front of the line, you go through the security and bag check. And then once you're through that, you head to the various different gates, depending on the ticket that you have, to have your ticket scanned. And then once you get through that, you head to the next checkpoint where you get given your armband, which allows you access. We got as far as the security desk. Now, as far as prop weapon regulations go at events like this, they have been getting a lot tighter in recent years, understandably so. It's restricted the kind of costumes that I've been able to put together. I mean, I've been planning to do a Division cosplay for a while, but you cannot get into one of these events with an airsoft weapon. A couple of years ago, yeah, absolutely fine. These days, forget it. Similarly, prop melee weapons cannot be metal. So I have Gandalf's sword. I've got a fantastic replica of Glamdring, and it's made out of metal. I mean, it's completely blunt. You couldn't cut a loaf of bread with it, but they will not let you in. So it would have been a waste of time even bringing it, which is a shame because it is a fantastic replica, but rules are rules. I made sure that I checked the prop weapon regulations before I even packed everything into the car to travel down to London. As far as prop melee weapons are concerned, they have to be wood, rubber, latex foam. You get the idea. Now, my staff is made out of resin, and it breaks into 3 parts. It's pinned together in 2 pieces. If you try to hit anything with it, it would break into 3 pieces. It's not even as hard as wood. And wooden replica melee weapons are absolutely fine. So I knew I was going to have no problems with the costume. In fact, we went through the security check the day before on Friday. They had a look at the staff. They said, yep, no problem. Off you go. Saturday morning, however, completely different story. No, you can't come through here with that. You'll have to leave it with us. We'll give you a ticket. I said, I don't think so. Tell you what you can do. You can give me my staff back. You can give me a refund. And we're going home. Okay, well, you'll have to go back the way you came. Through the 50,000 people we just stood in line with for the previous hour and 15 minutes. Before heading back, we asked, so how was I able to get in yesterday then? Because this was perfectly fine yesterday. He said, oh, you must have just slipped through security. Just think about that for a second. It's a 3-meter long staff that glows on one end. How did I sneak it through? Did I hide it under my hat? What's going on? So wait, you're saying this is a deadly weapon and I'm not allowed to come in with it? And yet yesterday somebody else said, oh, you're absolutely fine bringing that deadly weapon in here. Do you have these kind of security breaches regularly at MCM London Comic Con, do you? I thought, oh, screw it. I wasn't prepared to argue. Because it's not Gandalf without the staff. And we'd had such a great time the day before, and I was really looking forward to having a great time on Saturday, but I wasn't prepared to argue with a little Hitler that we had the misfortune to encounter at the security check. So we just turned around and headed back. I'd already had a great time on the Friday, but I was not going to do the costume without the staff because it's such an important part of the costume, and it's harmless. Well, anyway, we made our way back to a point in the lines where we were going to have to get a steward to open the fence so that we could, get back outside. And the steward who was manning that part of the fence said, what's going on, fellas? You're going the wrong way. He said, no, we've been refused entry. I said, why? Well, apparently this stick is a deadly weapon. He said, let me take a look. So I handed the staff over. He had a go, gave it a shake, And then he handed it back to me and he said, "Come with me." And turned us around, walked us all the way back, skipped the lines, straight through the security desk, and then he wished us a good day. And, it's all a question of interpretation of the rules. So we had a great day on Saturday as well. I wish I'd taken that guy's name, because I'd give him a massive shout out in this episode of Mingles with Jingles, but unfortunately I didn't. But, you know, thanks to him, we had a great time on the Friday, and we had an absolutely fantastic time on the Saturday as well. Got home Saturday night absolutely exhausted, but it was completely worth it. The people that you meet at these events, well, with one exception, are just fantastic. Everybody is so friendly. And everybody loves Gandalf. Thank you, Sir Ian McKellen. That's another one I owe you. I'm definitely going to be wearing this costume again in the future. It is such a keeper. I'm going to be wearing it for London Film and Comic Con at the Olympia in July, I think. And I'm definitely going to be wearing it, although maybe, I don't know. Like I said, you know, pick a costume that you kind of resemble anyway. So I was thinking of Sir Davos Seaworth from Game of Thrones, but that's probably going to be a reasonably expensive costume to put together. We shall see. Well, failing that, it would certainly be cheaper to do. Given the amazing popularity of Red Dead Redemption 2 cosplayers at Comic-Con this year, I could probably pull off Uncle from the game. So, you know, I have options. I've also got some ideas as to what to do about Gandalf's sword, because it doesn't actually have to be the sword. It can just be the crossguard, pommel and hilt in a scabbard. There doesn't have to be a sword blade attached. So I've got a couple of ideas for costumes in the future. We shall see what happens. But MCM London Comic Con May 2019, absolutely fantastic. Met some amazing people, had a great time. Kind of regret not going to any Comic Cons last year, because I just got sick and tired of lumbering that dread outfit around. But this Gandalf costume is definitely a keeper. Anyway, that's it for today. We got back yesterday. I'm still exhausted today. So I'm going to take it easy for the rest of the night. I hope you all had a great weekend. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.